Hey everybody, Texas Trucker here, Alliance's Performance Shop, Lone Star Mopars.com. It's Sunday evening, 7 p.m., just shy of 100 degrees out here. And quite frankly, I'm just trying to kind of clean the shop up. The KC tool hauls have been kind of a mess. I've had stuff on order for eternities, it seems. Stuff just doesn't come in, and then some of it comes in, but not all of it, and these are items that kind of make sense to film together. I've actually recorded 2, possibly 3, and I have no idea how I'm going to number them. We're going to start with an item that I honestly thought would be like the first item, but we ran into an issue. So, that item is right here. Now, before we continue on at all, I want to tell you, number 1, if you get over $100, you get the German tool sticker pack, which I just happen to have sitting right here. Any order at all will get you a bit of thanks. It's currently a number 2 Phillips, which is by Vit. So that's out of the way. I also do timestamps. These are Alpha gloves. You save 20% with the discount code of Lone Star. I make nothing off of that. Just trying to help you get some good gloves because it took me a while to find some. But back to this. You're sitting here and you're thinking like, ooh, it's a wrench roll. That is correct. Now, what happened last weekend when I came to record this video, it was a deal. I've gotten in the habit of anytime stuff comes in, I open the box, number 1, to make sure stuff is there, but number 2, to cut the box down. Like, I get so sick of having boxes pile up. It's like you go a week or 2 without doing it, and it's just a madhouse. And then you spend like a couple of hours cutting boxes down, right? So, it's a good habit I've gotten into, but, it's a counterpoint to that. I'm like, yep, wrenches are here, and I throw them in, because I had this bag, and I'm like, yep, that's my cool little wrench set, and put it in the box, waiting to film it, right? Well, I went to film this thing, and I was like, that's kind of heavy. And I was thinking, I will tell you, this one was in a sealed Stahlwille bag, but the one that I had previously was in a sealed Stahlwille bag inside a bubble wrap, okay? And I thought, man, this is like really heavy for, what this should be. And I looked at the part number and I was like, well, that's not right. And, I thought, well, maybe they've updated it. And I typed in that part number and it came up as a really, really big metric set. And sure enough, that's what I had in there. So I sent that back. KC Tools sent this one out to me. And we can now go about our business. So I'd give you more details, but like I said, I don't know like what order everything's gonna fall, and there's a chance I might still do this one first. So we'll just have to see once I edit them, I guess. So coming in though, if I flip this sucker over, this is the sticker that I pulled off of the plastic bag, and if you look at that, you see a bunch of numbers. And 10A-/7 is the important one, and then that's my writing, 139.31. That's what this would cost you right now at this very minute. And when I open this sucker up, it's the glorious Stahlwille wrench roll that you're accustomed to. They do really well on these. I do have one that I use to kind of roll up, and it's holding up great. Typically where you have failure points on cheap ones is the seams. Be it here or like the seams themselves, and then 2, the Velcro. This one so far so good. A lot of them, honestly, though, I just kind of roll up and save because I put the wrenches on racks. But if you're sitting here and you're thinking like 10A7, doesn't the A mean American? And yeah, you're on the right track. And then if you think 7, some of you have already counted. You got 2, you got 4, you got 6, you got 7. That would be 7, and if you look at these, and you can kind of see the bottom of the frame on a few of these, it's open end here, it's open end here, so could this be a 7-piece double open end set in fractional or imperial or SAE or American? Well, that is exactly what it is. And it's a pretty cool little set, I have to say so myself, something I've wanted for quite a while. This was one night I can't really tell you. But I did in the other video, so maybe this one will have to come first. But this one right here is going to be 1/4 by 5/16. That's actually quite handy. 3/8 by 7/16. You start getting into your frequently used sizes. We'll take a look at the bigger ones, I guess. 1/2 9/16. This one is going to be a frequent flyer, if you will, at least for me personally. Coming in next, this is where you kind of get interesting. You're thinking like, okay, 5/8, 11/16, right? Well, you got your 5/8. And then you've got 3/4. Okay, well, you're thinking, well, practical, I use 3/4 more than I do 11/16. Well, fear not, because 11/16 is accounted for, as is 13/16. So we've essentially gone from 1/4 all the way up at this point to 13/16. Okay, now right here, if you're thinking like, oh, 7/8 is next, well, that's correct. And then we've got my beloved, highly sought after, seldom included 15/16. So that's going to work for all of our 5/8 hardware. I want to point out also how thin these wrenches are, okay? There's a lot of times people buy double open-ended wrenches and they're thick, and they then have to go in and buy specialty ones that are thin. These are kind of the best of both worlds, right? So right here, this big guy, I'm not exactly sure what the sizes are. 1 1/8, sweet, so that'll cover my 3/4 stuff. And 1 5/16. So not quite sure what went on the jump from 7/8, 15/16 to the 1 1/8, which I love, but an 1 5/16. Typically you'd think you'd see like maybe 1 1/4, 1.5 inches, something like that, but hey, I'm sure they've got their reasons, and the beauty of this is we can definitely come in and customize this thing. So there's not a ton more options in the fractional stuff, but there are a few, and that is what we will attempt to replicate. So this was no tool of the day or anything. This was just, I decided, you know, like, something I've wanted for a long time, we're going to pull the trigger, and we did. So coming in next, let's go here. And I realized I forgot to bring an important item over here, but this was a tool of the day. This is part number 10760 ACV/13, and if you're seeing an A and you're seeing CV and you're thinking fractional chrome vanadium 13 piece, well, then you're starting to learn Stahlwille's part number system, right? If I flip it over, that's certainly the case here, and it would have been so nice. You know what? Just give me 2 seconds here. Might not even edit that out, because you know what, we go themed here. You know, we've got the ability to do themed tool hauls, and that's what we're gonna do. With that said, I do know a lot of you have been adamant that you prefer the random mashup, you know, like, ooh, you know, Vera, Heiko, Philo, NWS, and Hazette were all in this video. It's just, this makes more sense to me. You know, like when stuff is sat around now, you know, if everything showed up at the same time, like you would have seen these with probably some Kinimpex pliers, some MIT screwdrivers, you know, and it would have been odds and ends. But when stuff is back ordered and it all comes in at varying times, it's just like, I can make an all Stahlwille video. And it just, to me, that makes more sense. I don't know. If you disagree, let me know. I try to keep people entertained and happy, but it's just me, you know, so I kind of have to call it good from there. So these are just Stahlwille's, you know, hex keys, basically. I did not have the Stahlwille hex keys. I thought, man, this is a great time to add them. Standard price, if you're interested in these, they are not high. They're $24.17. Now, that said, are they as fancy as some of the offerings from Viha or Vera? No, these are just sort of like your run-of-the-mill hex keys. I would assume the metallurgy would be better than some of the junk that you might have, but there's no holding functions, there's no sleeves, there's no color coding. This is just kind of your old school hex key. So on tool of the day, I think these things were like 15 bucks. And is this something that I needed? No, but at $15 coming from Stahlwille, you kind of pull the trigger, and that's what we did. So it is an interesting holder, I'm not gonna lie. I did kind of want to check that out. The way it's set up, I kind of think with these keys flush, you can actually like sit this down on a flat surface, which I do have a flat surface over here. You'll have to take my word for it. And she stands up. So right here, you've sort of got like the canvas bag, just not doing us any favors. Let's see, right here, between a couple of dots, the work mat, if you're curious, is also not flat because it's got the raised dots, but it is standing. My 2 hands are here, it is there. So that is a perk. And if you're thinking like, well, hey, you know, tell us the size ranges on that thing, buddy. Well, I would, but we have to come here first because you get some ridiculously small hex keys. This could be a selling point to some of you. I should just make this the thumbnail and totally, you know, negate and neglect what else we have. But yeah, right here, this is tiny, tiny, tiny. Like I can't even see that tiny. So 5/64, a 16th, 0.050, 0.035, and 0.028. I don't know that I've ever had to use... I may have used some metric ones in this 2 to 3 range here. Mainly for like LED adjustments on you know, like aftermarket headlights, but otherwise I don't know if I've ever used them. Now, it does have a hanging hole. You can do what you want to with it. You can cable tie them together, throw them in your tool bag, whatever. You don't have to have them oriented like this. Like if you want to save more space, I mean, you can totally bring them all down, I think. I should probably try that. Yeah, you're home free. So it's a little stiff on that one, but I mean, if you want it more of a traditional setup, you can do that. But I think the intent is that these actually stand. So like for bench top applications, top of your box, cart, whatever, you know, it is an option. Now this right here, we can see the sizes a little easier. 3/32, 7/64, 1/8, 9/64, 5/32, 3/16, 7/32, and quarter. So do you get the massive sizes like you're going to bust open your water pump passages? No. Do they make them? I believe they do, but this is kind of like your generic starter set. So gotta say, they do look nice. I suppose we should take a better look at one, so we'll just grab the quarter. Oh, money shot. So glad that we did this and that I remembered. So if I zoom in on this, and the glare isn't too bad, 1/4 inch DIN. 9-inch, I believe is what's depicted there, so it's actually got the length. Man, this is not a focusing issue. This is like just they reflect a crazy amount of light. So Stahlwille, and then CV for chrome, vanadium, and Germany. So that's a lot of feature stuff there. See if I can find a sweet spot without the light. There we go. I'm trying to tilt this. I know it's at a weird angle for you, but I just do that so you can kind of see what I'm talking about, hopefully. So, oh, no, it's not 9-inch, that's 9/11. Okay, so there you go. But yeah, it's selling point really, aside from if you're a Stahlwille fan or you're like, yeah, I don't just want a plain hex key. It's honestly just that they're a little shorter. You know, like if you're accustomed to like some of the high-end keys, you know, you typically get like a long one for leverage type of a thing. This is kind of more of like a, hey, you know, I just bought a 300-piece tool set and 150 of them were hex keys. This is that type of length, right? It's not super short, but it is functional enough. I think it's just a all-around decent length, if you will. So I kind of gotten to where I prefer long, but sometimes you just can't work with that and you need something compact. So this sort of has the bases covered on that front. Now, we will spend a little more time here before I forget, because what I want to highlight for you, the open end from Stahlwille, it is called their motor 10. Again, this gets confusing if you're a metric person, because you'll see motor 10, somebody could grab a wrench for you and they would assume it's a 10 millimeter that you requested, and if they would look here, they would see that it's like a 9 millimeter, or you know, a 13 and a 15 or whatever. But that is the series of wrench. So Stahlwille motor 10, that's describing their double open end. And then the size markings are going to be stamped here. The profiles on the Stahlwilles, I absolutely love them. They look like they would be absurdly thin. They are quite strong. Able to flex that one a little bit, or at least it feels like I am. I do like also that the size markings continue to the backside. That way, if you orient these incorrectly, which you're probably going to do unless you're OCD, you're covered. And then on the backside, alloy steel is your feature point, and you've got chrome, and you've got Germany. So that's kind of the selling points, if you will. There's nothing fancy to the jaws. It's old school. It's simple. It's effective. You're not going to tear up fasteners. And like I said, a place where these would excel for you, let's say that you need the box end of your wrench to put some leverage on something, and you need to hold the top of the fastener, but you can't get a socket down on it. Super thin profile. So it is what it is, I suppose, but I am super excited to have these in the arsenal. Will they be staying in this wrench roll? I doubt it. If you're traveling, if you're mobile, wrench rolls they're great. You know, they totally get it. If you're gonna roll them up, you know, take them on a trip in case you need them, totally get it. But in terms of putting them in a cart, putting them in a toolbox, traditional drawers, this takes up a lot of space for 7 wrenches, right? Super cool, super good looking, but it takes up like a whole drawer, you know, or like a third or more of a drawer, right? Getting these in something like a wrench rack from Ernst, so on and so forth, you minimize that impact on your drawers. So keep that in mind. I will say, since this does go up so big, 1 1/8, 1 5/16, the open ends are large. Certain wrench racks, you might not be able to fit them in your thinnest drawer, so keep that in mind. With that said, we are on to our final item, and if you're like, hey, what are these doing here? Well, it ties in with the final item, right? So we're going to spin around, and I've wanted to open this for so long, and I'm finally going to get to. I haven't had it too terribly long. It came in recently, but I really am excited about using it. It is Stahlwille's part number 4242K. It's going to set you back $78.38. I am pretty positive that I got this on Tool of the Day. Now, don't hold me to that, but I think it was Tool of the Day. It's something that's been on my wish list for forever, and what it is a pendulum. Supposedly you can hypnotize with it. It's very efficient because it's German hypnotism, but you just swing it side to side. There's a whole instruction manual you can download online, but if we drop it down all the way, it is in fact just a breaker bar. Now, I say just a breaker bar, but it is a gloriously beautiful breaker bar from Stahlwille. I want to zoom in and hope that we can get the glare down even with matte chrome. It's Stahlwille's 424. You're thinking like, 424, didn't you mention that? Sure did. $78.38 is what this would cost you right now on non-Tool of the Day pricing. You'll note they've got their glorious matte chrome finish. Phillips screw, interestingly enough, holding the head in place. It's very solid, I have to say. I'm sure over time that'll break in. Personally, I typically kind of like it about like this stiffness, because once you get it in position, you don't want it to move, right? If it just flops back down all the time, it's super annoying, because then you have to locate the socket on the fastener again. But there is the handle, classic Stahlwille setup if you've got any of their comfort grip ratchets. We're going to back out, and I'm going to set this down because this is important. This is 3/8, okay? This is sort of my gateway drug. If I really like this, then we'll get the 1/2 inch, all right? If we're like, yeah, it's okay, but I wonder if so-and-so is better, maybe we get a 1/2 inch Azette. Maybe we get like a Heiko. I don't know. You know, it's all up in the air. But this is my beloved Stahlwille 3/8, buttery smooth. And if we take a look, we have pretty much the exact same setup. I will say this looks a little thicker. The handle, I'm not sure that it is. Now that one looks thicker. It's probably just an illusion. Let's compare it to this guy, which is a nice stair step here. Sort of your standard length, your breaker bar, and then your locking flex head. So they've got the exact same length handles. Now, I will also say, to the credit of Stahlwille, this is kind of a short breaker bar. It's not like super long. But when I grab that, it's pretty close. If it came up like half of a thumb more, I'd be a happy man. This is just a complaint I always have on these, and it seems like anything not 1/2 inch, people just dwarf the handles. The breaker bar that I have had insane good luck with and has done ridiculous things for me is this Capri. You can probably tell because the nameplate is kind of rubbing off there, right? It's been through some things in the time I've had it. But my knock on it, it's nothing to do with like the functionality of it. It does sort of have like the detent lock, you know, in the middle position, and then it just rides the rest of the way. It's not anything to do with, you know, like the way it's pressed in or the anvil or sockets slip off. Nothing like that. It's all great. And the handle's comfortable. Of course, black and blue. I'm not going to complain. There's a hanging hole. So what's the issue? Watch this. Okay, here comes the alpha. It's like, I just swallow this thing, right? Like, I prefer, especially on a breaker bar where you're going to be applying, like if I'm using a breaker bar, it's because like traditional force applied with a ratchet doesn't work, okay? And I need to put some serious leverage on it. So therefore, with having the comfort, you know, if it's knurled, fine. But if you're gonna put a comfort grip on, I want it like to fit me, you know. I want it to be up here and padded. I get, yes, down here at the base of your palm and everything, you've got some leverage, but I would just prefer that that was bigger, not only farther up, but in the case of this one, just like bigger, you know, like put some meat on the thing. And that's been my complaint for so long. I finally have a comfort grip 3/8 to compare it to, and we're gonna see. I can tell you right now, the Stahlwille is a bit wider, but I'm not sure that they're that much different. They're really not. They're pretty dadgum close. Again, I don't know if this is just like a me issue and this is standard and everyone else accepts it and I should be content with it. The Stahlwille is slightly taller, I'm gonna say, and I do mean like slightly. I'm talking like, you know, a couple of index cards or something. It's nothing crazy, but it is wider. It's a little bit wider. I think maybe that helps, because with this one, you see how like my whole thumb, right, is up here on the shaft, and then if we come in here to the Stahlwille, just something about the way it hits in your palm, because it's just ever so slightly wider. It's only a portion of the thumb. totally honest, I'd love to see this a little bit bigger, and of course this way bigger, wider, and extended up the shaft. They both, again, I love this thing. That's my only complaint on it, is just the handle is a little undersized, like the padded portion. And this, I think I kind of feel the same way. I am super excited to use it. I mean, that thing is solid as a rock. But I do wish it was just a little bit bigger. I'm going to run right over here again. And I think this might be a solution. This thing is dirty. I apologize. It's just what happens. But I've got two tools with this style of a handle. I've got a scraper, and then I've got sort of this trim tool, right? And so it's almost like just a screwdriver end. I really like it, but the main thing is it's wider, fits your hand better in my case, and it comes up the shaft a little bit longer. So if I come over here and we grab the Stahlwille driver, you'll note, like, oh hey, he's right, you know, that's literally, this is obviously way cleaner than this one, but I mean, it's a deal where it's identical, right? So screwdriver handle on this trim tool. Now check this out. If I compare that to this guy, you're gonna see exactly what I mean. Putting this handle on this breaker bar accomplishes the two things that I want it to. It comes up just a little bit, right? And that's what I described to you as like a little bit of my thumb, and then about the whole thumb, 3/4 to the hole on the Capri, and then a little bit, to being generous, a half of a thumb shy of where I'd like it. And this accomplishes that with the screwdriver handle. The other thing it does, okay, it actually does two things, the third not as important, but the second thing it does, look how beefy it is, okay? If I hold the breaker bar over this one and we look down, do you see that rise there, right? You just got that little curvature up top and down below. That fills my palm better, and then I wind up resting kind of in the sweet spot, the turn zone, if you will, right? And this thing is so stupid, like it's just dusty, and it just doesn't really come clean very well. So that is a downside to those handle styles. The other thing that this one does, screwdriver as well, I don't know if you can tell, but if we look at that, you can see the 12770, that's the part number. You can see kind of the tri-lobe design. Breaker bar does not have the part number, doesn't have the green dot, and again, just look at the profile here. Compare the tri-lobe versus what you see there. If we could put this handle on this breaker bar, I'd be a happy guy. Would I prefer it on the ratchets? I think I would, but especially, like, I'll let the ratchets kind of slide. Again, I would prefer a little bit more, but with the breaker bar, like, that's when you're really, like, you know, with the ratchet, you know, you might break something free or tighten it. Half the time I'm up here just, you know, going to town. But with a breaker bar, I don't do much up here, right? If I have the breaker bar, I need to be back here to get as much leverage as I possibly can, and that's where I would prefer to have the comfort of the handle, and I want it to fill my hand. It's just a comfort thing, personal preference. Let me know where you stand, but I've wanted to highlight that for quite a while. I don't have any 3/8 Stahlwille sockets handy, but I do have this semi-deep Koken. So fitment on there is pretty good. There's a little bit of play to it, nothing crazy. Let's see, there's detents in all four corners, so that's not going to change anything. It's actually a very nice little pairing there. This is slightly more of a bright finish Stahlwille, but pretty good nonetheless. There you can kind of see it articulating, so we can come on full 90. If you've got like a funky angle, maybe you're under your vehicle and you're trying to like get up to a plug or a mounting boss or something, you can do that. Straight on speed style, we can make that happen. It's just a super simple tool, but I'm excited to have it. It's finally here, and I'll use it for a little while. Half-inch breaker bar is not like a huge need, I'll be straight up honest with you. I've got the giant Pittsburgh, which I don't care what you say, like, you know what I do here, German tools, you know, they're great, but the half-inch Pittsburgh, I've done some really, really sketchy stuff with that thing. It's not broken. It's flexed a little, but she's never broke on me. So past that, I've got like some old protos with like sweet knurling on them. You know, it's not like 3/8. I didn't have a breaker bar in 3/8, so that's where the Capri came in. That's why I've used it so much. It's my only one. So this is now a secondary one. We'll put it to the paces, but I would like to get a full, I don't know, if the Pittsburgh's 24, maybe go with like a 18 or a 5, some length I don't have to kind of like be a logical, practical, more practical purchase, I should say. So that might be something that you see come in here in the future. But for now, that is it, man. This is what we did. We have the brand new, to me anyway, 3/8 Stahlwille breaker bar. We've had the scissors for a while. And then if we flip this wrench roll up, we've got the Stahlwille chrome vanadium hex keys. So if you've used any of this stuff, let me know your thoughts. Do you actually use their hex keys? Do you like them? Do you find certain situations where you're like, man, you know, I bought these fancy Veras or got the VHA magic rings and I kind of need a short hex key? If so, what are you using? How are they holding up? What are your thoughts on the motor tins from Stahlwille? Again, double open end. Again, pretty comprehensive set. I'm super stoked. It's basically 1/4 to 15/16 all in one whack. There's a few oddball sizes not included, but I mean, if that was a concern, I think you can buy them standalone. I can't quite recall off the top of my head how big they get. We very well could add to this set just a little bit. Nothing too crazy. It'd be on the big end if I'm not mistaken. Let me know what you think of that. How would you store these? What would you add to the Stahlwille Motor 10A7 set? If any of you have used their breaker bar, how do you like it? More importantly, like, are you with me on this? Do you want the bigger handle, the farther up handle on a breaker bar? Let me know in the comment section down below. But with that said, I've got this video wrapped up. Like I said, I did 2 last weekend, and I don't quite know how we're going to order them, so this one might still wind up coming first. So whatever you need to know, just know I've got some really cool stuff that I'm super proud of, and I think you're going to enjoy as well. So I will leave it at that. Again, your thoughts and opinions always welcome, especially firsthand. If you've got a good recommendation for a 1/2-inch breaker bar, let me know, you know, especially in terms of like ideal padded handles. With that said, you know the drill. LoneStarMopars.com is the website. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all 3 at Lone Star Mopars. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like. If you have not subscribed, I encourage you to do so. If you jumped your Charger across the creek while hitting the Dixie horn, shooting your bow and arrow successfully on the bullseye, YouTube just might let you know we got new videos 9 a.m. Texas time, Wednesdays and Saturdays. Tools typically Saturday. Wednesdays usually automotive or organization, that type of stuff right now, so we're cycling through. But with that said, I had a good time checking this out. Stoked to add all of these to the arsenal. And with that said, I hope I catch you back here next week for more action from the shop.